Hello everybody, I'm Conquering History Games and welcome back to part 8 of my Suzerain campaign, the Malenyevist playthrough. So let's check the news, because there doesn't seem to be any exclamation points. So basically, there's continued political violence going on inside. The Gil Sword FC and Korea FC Derby has been postponed due to protests. Because Ankria's got a lot of protests going on right here. So that is, which one is Ankria? In the Greater Whole Sword region. But this is Whole Sword. I don't see Ankria. Oh, it's over here. Oh, I thought this was part of Gessland. So this is an area where I think that we could invest in the football club later, which I haven't done before. But if it pops up, I'll do it just to get that achievement. Unless I can't afford it. Undemocratic elections. This is talking about that 10% threshold that's used for suppression, things like that. What I might do in terms of the electoral threshold, I've been trying to think about it, but I might say that I want to drop it down to 3%, but then pull back on it, just to have something to give up at the negotiation sessions. Because I don't really care. Because it's a win-win. Either it puts the threshold to get into Parliament down to 3%, which should help the communists get in, who would in theory be my allies, or it doesn't, or we don't get the threshold lower, and then that still helps my party, because the higher the threshold is, the better it is for me. Okay. So, how the heck do we, what's going on? I don't see any exclamation points. Oh, here it is. Narbel. There is a lack of hospitals. Okay, presidential visit to Narbel. I think this is where we just meet our education and health ministers, but I don't know if we actually make any decisions here. We'll be arriving at the Hotel West in a few minutes, sir. Thank you for letting me know. Anytime. It is my duty. How is life, Serge? Sir, I just want to say it has been great these last 2 months. As you know, my wife Susan recently gave birth to our son, sir, and now my daughter just started at a very good high school in Holsword. That's great news, sir. I'm happy for you. I appreciate it, sir. Truly, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to afford the good private school if she scored less on the entrance exams. But I shouldn't have made my insecurity get to me. Erica outsmarts me all the time. I'm very proud to have a daughter like her. I also hope that Deanna will grow to be like her mother went someday. I'm sure she will, sir. After all, she is the daughter of a lion and a lioness. My daughter looks up to the First Lady for inspiration, and it's not just limited to my daughter, sir. She's an inspiration for almost all women in the country. But at the same time, it must be hard for the First Lady as well. All this attention, adjusting to this new high-profile life, and a husband that has great responsibility. It is hard for both of us. It must be, sir. Those we cares for. I agree. Sergei giving marital advice out here. Have I told you, sir, we named my son George. The doctors said he is very healthy, and thankfully so is my wife. Let's see. What do I want to ask about? Tell me about Susan. Or why did you want another child? And just, Sergei's the best husbando, so you want to ask all the questions of him. Why did you want another child? I come from a big family. I am one of 5 siblings, so having company is a constant in my life. You can call it a little traditional, but it just feels life. Traditional or not, if it's what you want, that is all that matters. We keep forgetting what we want and lose ourselves in the process. I already started thinking about our university education, especially Erica. I want to send her to a good private school, but with the current state of the economy, it's going to be hard for us. I can pay for the education of your children and cover the expenses of your family. So that's it. There we go. That bribe money going directly into Sergei's pocket. Although this probably should just be a -1 personal wealth. I'm just throwing that out there because we got 2 personal wealth off of being given 1 million Swordish Ren by Tusk. So you're gonna tell me that it costs $1 million to send 2 kids to university? It's not as if we're some top flight country, all right? And I don't know, but maybe you could argue it's like because I'm also covering the expenses. Maybe it's like I'm saying I'm going to pay for your kid's entire 18 years of life, and then I'm going to send him to university, and also your daughter, and I'm going to cover you and your wife. You know, I guess it all adds up or something, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to pay for the education of his kids directly. You see, that's what I was talking about, redistributing the wealth. I took the money straight from some greedy corporate capitalists and straight into the hands of a working proletariat limousine driver. Mr. President, there's no way I can... What, look for me, Sergei cut his sentence short and nodded at me after removing his hat. Mr. President, I don't know how I can ever repay for this. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I hope you return the favor by helping someone in need someday, just like I did. I will, sir, of course. I think I've decided. I will give your name to my boy, George Anton Volkner. May he grow strong like you are. I'm sure he will. Oh, we hit a pothole. Are you fine? Yes, sir. I hope the car is fine, too. Alright, so, yeah. Thank you. Have a good day, Mr. President. The mask I was very used to. So, donning the mask of a politician. There goes my personal wealth. Okay, we got some news. It's like, President Anton redistributes wealth by giving money to his driver. Okay, protests are calming down. Okay, yeah. Shocking misogynist rally. Counter-protesters against the Swordfish League of Women. Sol needs to answer for his crimes. We'll try to do that. Labor union rights are marching. This is good. Economic privatization proven successful. So the big business says that we should do business things. That's basically what's going on there. We don't need to read the Economist rag. That's all it is. And I think that these are all just alerts about protests. Stuff that's, tensions and whatnot. These are interesting. They really are, but because I'm somebody who's streaming, that's why I don't really go over them all. Like, if I was playing this on my own, I would probably start reading them all. But I don't think that would be very engaging for you all. I know not everybody's into that. Okay, briefing on the welfare situation. So, say hello to our Minister of Health, Pascal Benival. Oh, what's this in my journal? Paid for Sergei's children education. Yes. His authority on social affairs cannot be questioned. Such a spectacular view. And then Chiara Valda, the Minister of Education, joined us on the balcony, dressed in a sky blue pantsuit. Her preference for trousers over dresses had made her the subject of much palace gossip, but it didn't seem to bother her in the slightest. Which I think we talked about before when we first saw her. Like, this does seem more like a dress top, not a pantsuit top, but whatever. It was really funny. A lot of people in the chat were like, oh, she's a communist in the government. But then, as, she's supported socialist policies. But, like, once you were actually working with her, it was stuff like, she thinks the women could read, she's a communist. Oh, I guess that's fair. So it was kind of funny how the chat, like, shifted on her. Okay. She's just aggressive. That's all it is. But she wants what she wants, and I'm sure. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. If a lot of the kind of aggressiveness, the assertiveness that Chiara was showing had been shown by a male character, I think there would have been a lot less people who were bringing it up in the chat. I'm just saying. All right. If you look at the opposite direction, you will see what Sol's decades of neglect did to the city. Also, isn't Valda married? Because the whole thing that, like, her trousers made her a subject of palace gossip, I would interpret that as being that there's, like, rumors she's a lesbian, but I thought that she was married. Is it her or Nia? One of them's not married. Maybe it was Nia, because I have a friend who's played this game too, and he's done, there's different paths you could take, and I think he was telling me that he actually was wanting to do a run where he gets our wife to leave us.
Because he said he was pretty sure that you could go after Nia based on a conversation he had with her. He didn't want to spoil things. But I thought, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, Nia must be the one who's not married. Um, okay, yeah. So most of the people in Narbel. So the city we're in, let's go over Narbel. It's the smallest and poorest city in the Nargis region. Centuries past, this town used to be positioned on a very important trade route. Narbel used to benefit heavily from this trade and got quite enriched for it. However, the past 100 years were not so positive. Most of the attention in Swordland went more inland, and cities like Narbel were forgotten. The governments were not as interested or incentivized to invest in hard-to-reach areas with little or no resources. That changed slightly with the discovery of natural gas resources. The large investment that came from the Gassam Corporation, I think this is one of the state corporations. No! What? This is interesting. Several investors from United Contana had started the company as a joint venture with Sordish businessmen, but the political instability made them pull out. This left the board entirely to Sordish citizens. So Gassam was founded by Malenyevist investors. You see, I told you it wasn't anti-Malenyevist for me to invest in stocks. That's how you literally seize the means of production. So, anyway, let's go back. This little back arrow thing is great. There wasn't enough to provide for the majority of the residents, who had to rely on farming and hunting for self-sufficiency. This led to starvation, which became a problem in the 20s, but was quickly solved when the state subsidized food to Narbel. Okay, most of the people here are workers, farmers, their wives and children. They break their backs for close to no payout thanks to greedy corporations. My intention is to help the working class. I'm glad we see eye to eye on this issue. If you look past the view, you can see the real problems like poverty. Pascal nodded gravely. This was a subject he knew quite a bit about himself. His best-known books were about the plight of Swordland's less fortunate, drawing from his own past growing up in squalor. Let's see. We knew less fortunate families, though. That's right, I went in with a middle-class background, even though we belonged to the middle class ourselves. So you can at least sympathize with the plight of these people. You don't have to have been poor to sympathize with the plight of the impoverished, much as you don't have to have been born a woman to recognize Swordland's need for parity among the sexes. Appearances can be deceiving, Pascal. Think about how Laius Graf to her current position. I don't necessarily believe the rumors about her and Sol, but she never could have risen so high if she didn't parrot his cause. Gloria Tori! Is it an accident that the first female assembly speaker is such a staunch conservative? And then there was Alfonso's habit of promoting women to prominent positions to give Swordland a progressive sheen, while accomplishing nothing in reality. You know, this is kind of interesting. Political tangent time with Conquering History Games. Now, as you guys know, I don't like to talk about my personal political beliefs, but I do like to comment on trends that I see. So, for example, I think it's kind of interesting how whenever, okay, like there's, you know, you got people who are really interested in about, you know, seeing women or minorities or whatever be the first for something, and then they like to champion people who are the trailblazers. And you know what? They should be, you know, people like Jackie Robinson and whatnot. Although, well, one of the things that I think is interesting is, for example, how like nobody in the mainstream wants to acknowledge that like Buchanan was the first gay president because he was probably the worst president. Like that's kind of universally agreed on that he was a shit president. This isn't one of those things where it's like Reagan, for example. Reagan regularly appears on like both the best president lists and the worst president lists, and like Buchanan is just everybody hates him. But like speaking of Reagan, one of the things I think is kind of interesting is that you know, everybody puts Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, up on the pedestal, and she wasn't even the first female Supreme Court justice, because the first one was and I really think that it's not championed more. It's because the first female Supreme Court justice in the United States of America was appointed by Ronald Reagan, who was a conservative. And so it's one of those things like, why don't we talk about this being an example of you know, progressivism via for gender or what. Incidentally, though, having said that, I think it was Sandra Day O'Connor, and yeah, it was Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually did write a book together called Sisters in Law, which is like that's a fun title. And it just talks about them. Well, actually, was it about them or was it about? No, yeah, it was written by or I think it technically no, it wasn't written by them, but I think they both were interviewed for it and by the guy who did the book, or was it a woman who did the book? Anyway, it came out a few years ago, like 5 years ago. It just compares and contrasts Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who were the first and second women on the U.S. Supreme Court, respectively. Anyway, let's get moving here. There was Alfonso's habit of promoting women to prominent positions to give sort of that progressive sheen while accomplishing nothing in reality. Yeah, so there would probably be some people who would say a conservative doing something like promoting a woman to the Supreme Court is an example of a progressive sheen that accomplishes nothing in reality. I'm not saying whether I disagree or agree with that. I'm just saying, like, that is a point of view that some people have. So, while women in places like Narbel are denied any opportunity to advance, the government can use a handful of political politicians from wealthy families, myself included, to pretend their only obstacle... Wait, she's from a wealthy family? To pretend their only obstacle to success is their own lack of initiative. I thought her and Pascal were both from poor backgrounds. She taught philosophy and political science at the School of Culture, at business schools... It doesn't really give her background here. But, I guess that was the background. Yeah, comes from a wealthy background. Okay. Meanwhile, those of us who don't use our clout to help powerful men stay in power are denigrated as angry spinsters. I ask you, Mr. President, does anybody care that your strategist, Mr. Gallade, doesn't have a wife? And, of course, then there was I remember this caused the thing in the chat where people were going... So is Lucien gay or is he asexual? I personally think he's just married to his work. I think if the right man and or woman came along, he might pay attention, but the thing is, he just doesn't pay attention. So maybe that is a form of asexualism, when you're married to your work. Anyway, I agree with you. Yeah, leave Lucien out of this. I agree with you completely. Swordland's women deserve better. I'm glad to hear that. And as I was saying, isn't it about time Holsword addressed this country's real issues rather than bowing to the wishes of the hawks and fearmongers in the establishment and diverting yet more resources to the military and law enforcement? Our welfare, healthcare, and education systems have been decaying since the recession. Swordland's poorer communities are losing hope. Hopelessness and a lack of opportunities can drive people to extreme solutions. We're seeing increased crime, domestic violence, and yes, rising inequality between men and women. I'm reading all of her dialogue because, you know, she's probably the furthest... No, I think I would definitely say she is the furthest to the left of all my cabinet members. So, you know, she's basically laying out the plan we want to do. These issues must be tackled from different directions. We need to engage it holistically. I'm planning to help by using an increased budget to improve the quality of hair care. That could prove useful, but we need to be doing a lot more. Education has similar issues. There is another subject I want to mention. We've been working on improving the rights of workers in our country and have proposed a drafting bill that is currently being reviewed by a party. Oh yeah, let's kind of review him real quick. So Pascal Berival is our Minister of Health, Social Affairs and Labor. Which I think is kind of interesting that like the Minister of Labor and Minister of Health is like that's fused together. I'm not entirely sure what social affairs covers. That means he's in charge of parties. So he's been a member of USP since 42. He was appointed on the Civil Service Commission in 49. He was president of the University of Volgland and Gelsord Schools of Medicine. And before he went political, he wrote 8 books, including The Unfortunate Man, where he tells the story of a family of poverty-stricken miners. He became known as the Struggle, who depicts the struggles of Sortish life from a realistic frame, which brought him praise from the middle class and the civil rights groups. Advocates for workplace safety, workers' compensation programs, important face in the shaping of the nation's first social security policies. Initially a supporter of Edward Alfonso's programs, Pascal eventually turned against the free market reforms and the president's management of them, stating it traded badly needed resources away from welfare programs. Gave his support to Anton Ray in 53. Okay. Mr. Clavin has already backed me and given me his support. Oh, this asshole. Swordland has fallen behind most countries on this subject. No, and it is my responsibility to ensure it's not the case. We need to improve the standards for our workers. Okay. Would you back the bill when it arrives on your desk, Mr. President? Oh, yeah, I'm mixing up my accents. I'd be very interested in supporting it. Okay. It's getting cold. Let's head inside. Okay, let's start with the health overview. So basically, there's not. This is just basically explaining the situation. So we have free healthcare except for a few private hospitals. Most of the populace gets adequate treatment, but rural areas get bad quality service. We want to solve the infant and mortality program. I think we have to go through this, but basically our life expectancy and mortality rates are goddamn awful. Let's see. We must do everything we can to improve. Okay. Yeah, we don't need to go over all this. The briefing is appreciated. Okay, let's get into education. Swordfish education is free, but we have an outdated system I want to reform. There's a lack of access in the rural areas, especially for young girls. We need to get funding to build schools in rural areas while I cleanse our educational system of its nationalist indoctrination and sexist teachings. Yeah, so the literacy rate also is like, it's good, but it could be better. It's because it's like, we just need to get access out there. Okay, urban and rural. Urban have 3 times the number of schools. That's not a very good ratio. Thank you, I could fill in the blanks. I believe that is everything. Okay. What is it, Kiara? Look at this impoverished city. The streets full of potholes, the hospital barely functioning, the school half open. This is not just about Seoul or even Alfonso failing. This decay in Swordland's forgotten regions has been going on for many decades due to structural corruption which is fueled by capitalism. We're here to change that. Actually, let's get Pascal in here. Pascal, what do you think? Sir, there's not much to be said. There's not much to be said. I agree with Chiara, but it's also Gosmanger's job to improve these areas. He's too busy doing who the fuck knows what. He seems to be working on everything but agriculture. We need to transform. Greed and unchecked capitalism will not magically provide for the people. Tell me about your plans, Chiara. My plans require an increase in the government budget. I aim to solve the problems we highlighted with the allocated money. By building schools in these less fortunate rural areas and through fundamental changes to the education system, I will unlock the potential of all our children, boys and girls alike. Proving it is a good idea. Investment would be the future. Could private education create funds? Yes, but at what cost? I'm not a supporter of the private sector in education because at the end of the day, they're focused on profit first. Okay, and Pascal, he wants to improve things in the rural areas, and he wants an additional. A privatization plan to promote private investments in the healthcare system could allocate adequate funds. Let's see here. Quality of healthcare in less fortunate areas matters more. Okay. A private healthcare system would increase the price of treatment and make access worse for the average citizen. Besides, I believe we have decided to promote a more planned economy. My expectation from our government is that we understand and focus on the needs of the people. Okay, I've bailed out people in need instead of businesses. Trust me, my priorities are correct. It has shown your dedication, but there are many years ahead of us. This is just the beginning of the journey. Okay. I looked at the citizens' tiles. Some people were wearing clothes a few sizes too large. Some kids did not even have shoes, yet there was hope in their eyes. Okay. What's next? Whole sword. Ban youth organizations. Oh, this is an easy decision. An investigation on the influence of the Young Swords and Red Youth organizations on the post-assassination unrest has concluded. Both organizations have officially argued, or haven't officially organized or called for illegal actions, but several low to mid-level leaders from both have links to insightful actions that lead to death, injuries, and instability. This allows us to ban the organizations. So we will ban the Young Swords, obviously. Yeah, so the Young Swords, again, this is the right-wing nationalist political organization. So obviously we're going to ban them. Alright. Country overview. Limited human rights. What? Due to the harsh security laws that exist. Young Swords have been banned. Its members will be arrested effective immediately. Stability decree caused criminal political organizations to be banned effective immediately. Well, just the one. Just the one. Just the terrorists! I decided to indefinitely ban the Young Swords organization in Sortland. That ought to help the violence, right? Morbo mine disaster. Uh-oh. Something with a NetM mining group. Yeah, we're going to have to do some internal changes with our own governmental corporations. The highway is moving along very fast, although I don't know if that's only in this section and then it has to keep working its way up here, but I'm pretty sure when we did it in Wholesort, it was the meter was just there. I don't remember it moving from city to city. So anyway, yeah, government work is good work. I like it. Goodness gracious, we got to get this economy up, though. I'm just down to one budget to play with right now. We're going to be going into debt in a minute. I know it. Administration announces ban on Young Swords. Effective immediately, the administration has announced a ban on the anti-government organization Young Swords as a response to the recently escalated political tensions. The ban also states that it is strictly illegal and forbidden to carry symbols, clothing, and anything that can cause a person to be identified as a Young Swords member. Any person who does not abide by the new law will be risking an at least 2-year sentence depending on the severity of the crime. NFP leader Kizaro Kibner has opposed the ban strongly, while a good majority of the assembly has been content with the decision. Something tells me Kizaro wouldn't be making a peep if, it was the Red Youth that had been banned. Just, no! You can only ban my political enemies! What the heck is it? Has this always been here, this tiger? Look at that. Or is it a lion? No, yeah, it's a lion. I'm stupid. It's... yeah, the Constitution... Okay, so, what's next? Young Swords have been banned. They were linked with violent acts. They played a key role in the rise of General Lutheran, and later supported Tarquin's soul. The National Front officially condemned the act, saying it was a wrong reaction to problems, and saying that leaving the Red Youth without any repercussion sends the wrong message. Political analysts are assessing the situation, the shift in the political spectrum. Okay. Anti-Young Swords operation. We closed hundreds of organizational offices. All remaining elements are being arrested, are considered as violating the law and are being arrested. Okay. NFP on reforms. The NFP is completely against any threshold reforms. He especially emphasized that it would lead to unwanted elements entering the assembly. Workers' rights bill is near completion. The people that form the backbone of Swedish economy will finally be protected by extensive laws. Franz Richter is outlining demands for a reform package. Without implementation of term limits and limited decrees, it would be difficult for him and his party to stand behind the reform package. Whatever. We'll get the conservative vote. We don't need him. They clarified demands. Without ministry reforms, they won't be able to stand behind the new reform package. And then finally, finalization of the drafted constitutional changes. You know what? Let's go ahead and just do this now. Livia greeted me. How are you today? Fine, thank you. How are you, sir? Let's see. I'm perfectly fine. Give a hint about your reform plans. If you ask me, taking away the judge's immunity is long overdue, but it might anger a lot of people in these highs. That's none of your business, Livia, spy. Alright. Good morning, everyone. Let's get some reform going on here. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning. Time to get this proposal going. After your modifications, we'll be starting the process. Let's go over the points. We need to, the first two sections, decrease Supreme Court authority and limit presidential vetoes. Nothing else has been agreed on unanimously. We should start talking about Section 3. This is about the impeachment process of the president. Currently, in cases of high treason and breaking the Constitution, the Supreme Court may impeach and try the president. Most reformists want the impeachment to be initiated by the Assembly. They think they do not have any power over potential rogue presidents that would abuse their power. I'm not sure if it's correct to check. So I know that we promised by accident that we were going to go reformism earlier, but we're going to start swinging back towards authoritarianism. So we're going to say, I'm not sure if it's correct to chasten the president this much. This law is particularly dangerous for you in this case. We will be going against the old guard, and if we prove to be successful in the assembly, they'll be looking for anything they can to declare unconstitutional to tackle you. All they need is the Supreme Court to impeach you. Maybe reforms are not such a great idea after... I don't know. Such a great idea after all. Well, I do not have strong opinions about this point. These reforms are vital for the future of our democracy, Mr. President. Section 4, this is regarding the appointment of ministers. Currently, the president is free to appoint anybody. Yeah, so we'll just do the confidence vote. This seems to be like the easy one. I think everybody wants the confidence vote. So, yeah. Reformers are in charge of that. Fifth section is about our infamous electoral threshold. Most reformists want to lower the threshold as much as possible. Mr. Richter and his PFJP definitely want to see change in this topic. They find our 10% threshold to be anti-democratic, which is something I agree with. Yes, but this is a delicate matter. The party, and I mean, not even Albin wants us to change the threshold. They think that this would destroy our party in the long term. Is Albin Calvin? Let me check this here. The assembly. Yeah, Albin Calvin. So this is he's the, I don't know, I guess you could say the internal reformist. He's in the USP, but he also wants his own share of, I guess you could say, reform or whatever. Okay. I think what we want to do... Yeah. So he wants to become vice president, though, if I remember correctly. Like, he says, like, you want my support? You better make me vice president. I went, what? Go fuck yourself. The party, nobody wants us to change the threshold. Not wrong. The 10% threshold is what allowed us to control half the assembly with only 30% majority in the elections. Let's see. The high threshold is the reason why Swedish politics has become so isolated. What does that mean? I'm going to say this is out of the question. I actually want to jack it up. Let's try to go for 15%. Because again, yeah, instead of trying to go for the 3%, let's jack this baby up, you know? Let's go the opposite direction. Then, you know, it could be something... I'm not married to the 15% threshold. We could just always drop it, but... Also, I think if we... I just had a thought. If we got up to 15%... Let's look at the political overview. I think that would kick out the NFP. Let me do some math here. So... They have 40 seats out of the 250. So... I think that's 16%. I might be doing the math wrong. So no, it wouldn't kick out the NFP unless we picked up more seats. We're gonna try to jack it up though. Let's try. Let's try. Vanguard Malenyvism. I'm gonna say, I don't know. This sentence is weird. Why Swedish politics has become so isolated? I guess that's saying we're not really representing the people or something. This is out of the question. Many Swedish citizens feel they are not represented in the assembly. This is a matter of representative democracy. Don't forget, the Communist Party and the Workers' Party of Bloody both had close to 10% vote in the last election. You would be opening their way into the parliament in the future if you were to decrease the threshold. It is important that you realize this. Of course, that would also mean the USP might lose its majority in the assembly, sir. We can't just give away our majority like that. I know it's a delicate matter, sir, but you still have time to think about these. Section 6! This is about the presidential decrees. Reformists demand more limitations to the president's executive power. Mr. Richter has demanded them to be removed completely. I have suggested to bring some limitations to decrees regarding their applicability. While we keep them, we should try to make sure that they will only be used in emergency situations. We should also make it dependent on an enabling act from the assembly. I think I need to think about this. Let's come back to that. You'll have a long time before we start writing the final proposal. Section 7, term limits. I don't aim on leaving anytime soon, so we keep the unlimited terms. Hey, if the people want me, they want me. I agree, we can keep that in. Hey, if people keep electing one person, that means they really are content. The masses are scared of change. Even Sol knew when he had to leave, but we'll leave it to the president to decide. I agree, people should be able to elect the same person if they want to. Section 8, immunity of judges. I do not support taking away their power for yourself, Mr. President. The judiciary must be independent and long-lasting. While I agree that the current court members are problematic, this is no way to resolve it. The law is supposed to ensure the judiciary's independence by giving legal protection so they can't be pressured. Well, they need absolute immunity in theory, but look at what reality got us. We've got to deal with the most corrupt Chief Justice in the world with no chance to deal with him. We should crush we should crush the old guards to clear way for further reforms. Hell yes, we should. His member of honor law gave him absolute immunity when he's retired. He's a permanent member of the assembly as well, but luckily he doesn't really attend anymore. Yeah, we're getting rid of this. Did I keep the immunity last time? I think I did to please Tory. Member of honor not only has legal immunity, but the state also covers most of their expenses as well as providing security at all times. It can only be given to someone by an absolute majority vote in the assembly and the approval of the president. Okay, this is why Tarquin Sol has that title. He gave it to himself right after his military coup. This law was basically made to save the colonel, and it has a symbolic importance for Swordland. Okay. I think I need to at least keep the title but get away the immunity. No. We're going to say we're going to abolish it. Or what we could do, we're going to straight up say we want to get rid of it. And then maybe I can negotiate down to, fine, he could keep the title, but we're taking away his immunity. Because I want to try to put him on trial. So we should abolish this position. The reformists would be completely behind that. Alright, let's start working on the draft. Boo! Is this it? Where's all the other stuff? Like with decrees. Or, oh, wait. Oh, no. There's a next thing. Okay. Here we go. So this is like the big moment. So, according to Articles 77 and 82, the president meant this is going to end up being a pretty long video episode. Not that anybody's going to complain, I'm sure. According to Articles 77 and 82, the president may veto a bill by returning it to the assembly with a written statement. The articles do not contain any information on how to override the veto. As a consequence, the president has an absolute veto power that cannot be overridden by the Grand National Assembly under any circumstances. Let's see here. Remove vetoes. No. We'll just limit it. A 3/5 majority can override. Yeah. This is going to be tricky. We're really playing a dangerous game here. We're trying to court the reformists and the old guard at the same time. With this constitution, I have ideas. Okay. According to the... Well, this is the only option. According to the Article 5 of the Constitution, an amendment may be proposed by members of the Assembly with at least 150 signatures. A 2/3 majority vote in the Grand National Assembly and a simple majority vote in the Supreme Court is required for the amendment. As a consequence, the Supreme Court, which is not part of the elective legislative branch, has enormous power in the amendment process. We're going to remove that. A constitutional amendment will not require the vote of the Supreme Court. This will remove the judiciary's legislative powers. Number 3, impeachment process. According to Article 17, the President of Swordland is not responsible for the actions performed in the exercise of presidential duties except in the case of high treason or violation of the Constitution. In such cases, the President may be impeached by the Supreme Court in joint session with an absolute majority of its members. Therefore, the impeachment process only includes the Supreme Court and gives them great power over the executive. So we're just going to leave this, I think. I think if we don't change it, that'll help with the Supreme Court. I feel like this is the way I'm trying to do this Constitution. This is one of those things where I could totally like get passed with an overwhelming margin, or only 5 people vote for it because I just alienate everybody in the wrong ways. Yeah, just leave it. It's fine. I won't get impeached once I jam the courts, you know. Okay, appointment of ministers. According to the Constitution, the President appoints the ministers to the Council of Ministers from elected members of the Assembly. This requires no confidence vote from the Grand National Assembly. Yeah, confidence vote. This is an easy one. Yeah, everybody likes that. Because I think if I have the Grand National Assembly also nominate the ministers, the old guard turns on me. But I think everybody's in favor of the confidence vote. That's an easy one. All right. According to Article 50, a political party needs a minimum of 10% of the total national vote to win seats in the Grand National Assembly. The votes of the parties who pass the threshold are redistributed proportionally, meaning USP, which currently holds the lead, would be the main beneficiary. Damn it all. I was hoping that we'd have the 15% decision, but it looks like it's not there. We're not changing it. Let's leave it up here at 10%. And maybe we can negotiate down to 2. Honestly, I don't care about the threshold in this particular campaign. So, like, if the reformers say you're going to need to drop that threshold, it goes, oh no, we're going to let communists in. So we'll leave this be. All right, presidential decrees. What is this? According to Articles 18 and 51, the President is able to issue decrees on political, social, and economic issues that would carry the force of law. This will not contradict the Constitution or subject to judicial review. Therefore, the President may issue decrees in many subjects without going through the Grand National Assembly. However, the Assembly may pass legislation on the same subjects to override presidential decrees. Decrees require an enabling act. Let's just kind of leave this. Damn it. I was hoping that we'd have the thing where we can bypass the assembly, but because we committed to reformism, this is all we can do. We can just say do not change. We're going to get screwed because of that thing. I'm so fucking angry right now. I don't know. No changes to the term limits. And, total immunity. We could have them be impeached by the assembly. I don't think that I can replace the judges. Yep, I'm screwed. I'm good and screwed. I couldn't go authoritarianism. I'm fucked. Okay, abolish the honorary membership. Yeah, let's do it. But I think I'm screwed. Pretty sure I'm screwed. I'm not strong enough. I don't have enough authority to stop myself from being destroyed. All right. Yeah, we talked to the different people. Any advice? Clavin will be easier to persuade. We need to unite this party under him. Thanks for the advice. Oh, I've got a bad feeling about all this. I think, like, reform the country. I haven't gone authoritarian enough. I should have been able to replace the judges myself, and now because I can't, I think I'm screwed. But let's see what happens. Let's play it out. If I get impeached or something, that just means I'm unlocking a new path, right? Okay, thank you very much for joining me. I'm Conquering History Games, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.